there's been a diversion route set up with ease. Heading away from the Pilning interchange, and the M49 crosses over the Severn Tunnel, or maybe I should say the Severn Tunnel goes underneath the M49. The Severn Railway Tunnel was completed in 1886, having used 77 million bricks and 37,000 tonnes of concrete during its construction. Its total length is 4.3 miles, however only 2.25 miles of that are actually underneath the River Severn itself. Not a lot happens after that really. You drive along for a bit and you'll start to notice some signs that have been blacked out, and then shortly after a motorway junction appears. Despite me saying there are no motorway junctions on the M49, there is. So what's that all about? Well, I've actually covered it in a previous video, but we're going to cover it again because it's absolutely hilarious. The junction was completed in 2019 at a cost of £50 million with the intention of serving the recently constructed Western Approach distribution park. A fine plan indeed, but they failed to build the few metres of link road between the junction and the distribution park. Whoops. Since then, the local council, the developers and National Highways are arguing the toss about who should build these link roads, or perhaps more so, who should pay for the installation. Since 2019, the junction is sat unused and not accessible from the motorway, with the signs blacked out to make sure that you don't take an exit that isn't there. But there might be a solution on the way, maybe. The local council and National Highways have sorted themselves out and have decided to build the linking slip roads. Hooray! Except they can't. It turns out that the land they want to build the link roads on is privately owned, so in order for anything to go ahead, first of all they're going to have to purchase it. The trouble is, I don't actually think they know who owns this piece of land, so good luck with that then. Once they've acquired the land, then they'll begin the planning permission process and all that shite, so basically we're looking at probably a few years before this junction's finally open. So, the M49 remains as a motorway without any junctions, but maybe not forever. Funny thing, in 2019 a crane driver made the news after twatting the newly installed bridge here, causing absolute traffic chaos not only on the M49 but on the M4 and M5 and the surrounding areas. If you have a look on Google Street View, you can see where the damage has been repaired on the bridge. As you continue along the M49, on your right hand side you might notice a few wind turbines, and these sit on an industrial estate that used to be a far less greener affair. Go back several decades and across this entire area you'd have found gasworks, chemical plants and factories manufacturing all kinds of living stuff. I'm on a bench. One such factory was based on the Chittening Industrial Estate, where it used to be called Number 23 Filling Factory. Built on farmland commandeered by the military, Chittening Filling Factory was used to quite literally fill up the artillery shells and ammunition with explosives and powders. The site would then move on to manufacturing chemical weapons. Whilst their use was banned under the Hague Convention, our government sort of ignored that when it was found that the Germans were using such weapons, and the then Minister of Munitions Winston Churchill, yes that one, ordered that mustard gas shells be manufactured here at Chittening. Perhaps ironically, the process of manufacturing these mustard gas shells wasn't fully operational until 1918, just 2 months before the war ended, and these mustard gas weapons did more damage to our own people than it did the enemy forces. Making these shells was a very dangerous job, and during the manufacture of over 85,000 mustard gas shells, approximately 1,200 workers fell ill. Ill being anything from a bit of flu or asthma to cancer. Hooray! There's not much left of the original filling factory today. It's mostly been redeveloped into the Chittening Industrial Estate. However, there is one building that's left over from the original site, and there's also a couple of railway sidings that used to bring in the mustard gas from the nearby National Smelting Company at Avonmouth Docks. A smelting company that Winston Churchill set up with the sole intention of manufacturing mustard gas. This was all done under cover of the Official Secrets Act because it was banned, and under the Hague Convention, slightly illegal. Oh, it's a train. You like trains, don't you guys? There you go. You can deliver everything.
And then the vicar,
Back on the M49
whatever.
now.
Oh yeah, vicarage is just on the right, that house we just passed. Not this
These were
one,
put in place
this
in
one.
preparation for a junction that was never built. As we've established, there's already one junction on the M49, albeit completely useless, but the plan wasn't always to put that junction where it is. Way back in 1991, when they were planning the motorway, it was decided that if they were ever to add a junction to the motorway, it would most likely be a Severn road. So they built these slip roads in preparation for that, with the added benefit that it made little to no difference to the cost of the motorway build. And build them they did, but of course the junction never came, and despite proposals kicking around as late as the early 2000s, they decided to build the junction where they did today. And you can't use it. What's the point? Moving on then, and just by one of the many Amazon distribution centres, the motorway goes under a fairly normal looking bridge. Back in the day, before the motorway and the industry came along, it's roads as seen on this map. Today, these are pathways rather than roads, but they still count as a public right-of-way, and therefore access has to be retained. When the motorway was built, this bridge was installed to carry the pathway across to the other side. One thing I noticed is that this bridge is rather oversized considering what it's actually used for, just a footpath. I wonder if there are plans somewhere in the distant future for this area to be developed and much larger roads be installed. Who knows? Just to the other side of the Amazon distribution centre is Wessex Water and their largest sewage treatment works. You can't smell it, but it stinks around here. It was here in December 2020 that tragedy struck after a storage silo exploded. Sadly, 4 men lost their lives after the storage silo containing biosolids or shit exploded for some reason whilst they were working nearby. It's been suggested but not confirmed that metal grinders may have played a part in the accident, where sparks could have ignited the methane gas contained within the silo. Investigations are ongoing. The M49 comes to an end for us at the Lawrence Western interchange where it meets the M5. The interchange here is a completely free-flowing design, which makes a nice change from the usual crap that we see. The only thing you can't do easily here is join the M5 north from the M49, but then if you come all the way down the M49, why would you want to do that anyway? As you drive down the southbound slip road, keep an eye out on your left and you might spot an abandoned building. I did, and obviously wasn't going to ignore it. I believe it's an old sewer pumping station. However, despite many people clearly visiting this place over the years, its actual use remains a bit of a mystery, and I can't really find many details on it. If you've got any ideas, please do let me know. I'd absolutely love to see what it looks like inside. What I did discover is that this building, at one point, is where you would have found an original graffiti art piece by Banksy. I've come to look for the remains of this piece of art that was painted in the 90s. It's called Quack Attack and was one of the oldest pieces by the artist, assuming he exists. My research showed that there were traces of this wonderful piece of art to be found. Unfortunately, as you can see behind me, it's been completely covered up by some mob. And there we are, guys. That's all for this week. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, there is of course a button specifically for that, and if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. That'll be wicked sweet awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, whatever it is you get up to. My name's John, you've been watching Auto Shenanigans, and I'll see you guys next time for another exciting episode of Secrets of the Motorway. Until then, take care, see ya, bye bye.